Okay, everybody, I'm here. And right before I got on, I decided to put chocolate covered almond in my mouth. One way or the other, I was going to put that one in my mouth too. So I figure I might as well do it early than late. I'm going to switch over, like you care, to the day before. But see, I disappear when that happens. Let me get my... It's going to say day 22 up there. I think what I'm going to do is this instead. Since I'm so savvy at this. Ta-da! Oh, but I all of a sudden got something in my eye. Okay, so we are here in the classroom. What classroom? The spiritual classroom. And what are we doing in the spiritual classroom? You all know. We're doing Job. We're looking at the book of Job. And so we're looking at the Bible in chronological order. I was thinking about this before I got on. And the thing I was thinking about it was that I've said this before, that time is extremely important to human beings. I mean, it's the only entity that understands time, or at all, are humans. And so is there something valuable in studying? I would think that there would be, to human beings, to studying the Bible in chronological order. And I've already explained to you what got me thinking about that, which was the story of Genesis in the beginning. So Genesis 1:1, in the beginning, when God was floating above the waters, the Holy Spirit above the waters, to and fro. Waters are so ominous, right? Which is like, omni means, I think it means something like across all, not literally, but that's pretty close. What do I say? Ominous. So there's something evil, like, oh, there's an evil darkness to it that is all encompassing, right? If you've ever been in the middle of the water, it's hard for me to take, right? That sort of sensation. It is. No land. I don't know. It's weird, isn't it? And yet, where was Satan? He was walking to and fro on land. I just find that I would call it a dichotomy, those opposites there, where God was above the water, his spirit was above the waters. So Satan was obviously there after God, because he was on land. There was no land. So that's so interesting to me. So that's a valuable time thing, I think. And the first story after creation and after the flood. So I think that that's very interesting as well. Like, nothing will ever get as bad for anyone as it was for Job. And that is the theme, right? That's our theme of the book of Job. I pulled that up there because I also wanted to show you. I did look for Uz. But the one thing I didn't look for I didn't look for it in my Encyclopedia Britannica. And believe it or not, I'm going to do that. But let me show you first where I figured out that they're talking about, which was not easy. If you remember, I showed you this, and I bought this a while back, not that long ago, about a year ago, maybe 2 years ago. The Atlas of the Bible Lands, so by Hammond. And it's recommended. It's a small book, right? It's really small book. Only what, 70 pages? No, there's more than that. No, there's not. 61 pages in the book. But here is the land of Edom. And they describe us as having Edom being a part of it. And I believe it is Leviticus. And I really kind of want to, and I've got that in my notes, which I didn't bring downstairs. And, you know, here are all the lands. Here's the land of the Hittites there. So you've got the people who are visiting Job. I'm not familiar with the names of the land, and I did look them up. But again, he's in the land of Uz, so UZ, and we don't know where it is what we've said. But here's the Hittite, the Mitanni, the Assyrians, Babylonians, Egyptian Empire, and here is Edom again, which is well, here, right here. Okay, here. Here is Ur. And Ur is where Abraham was from. All right, so here's Ur, and Ur is here in Babylonia, right about here. I can't see it very well. Right about here is Ur. And what they were saying Uz was likely north, if this is north, because sometimes the maps are turned around, but I do think that this is north. I don't see a north, though, anywhere. And that's a little weird. But here in this area, which is the area here of Edom, so this is probably where they're talking about for where Job is from. You can see, so this is Africa. Here's the Sinai Peninsula here between Africa and the Middle East. So that gives you an idea. This is an ancient map. So it's not exactly the same way, but it kind of gives you an idea of where we're talking about, even though nobody really knows. And yeah, I'd like to look that up, but I'm not going to look it up right now. That'd be silly of me right now. So I have looked up, and I have really come up against a wall. Nobody knows what Uz is. UZ. Nobody knows what this is. Okay. But they know about where it is. And I don't even know if people dispute that it actually exists or not. I don't know. I did look it up, and it does seem like it is referenced by more than just the Bible. Maybe not. I could be wrong. So more to learn, but some of you who like geography, a deep dive, and and history and archaeology might want to do a deep dive on. Oh, I just dropped my book, my Bible. Oh. And now I have to crawl on the table to get it. Is that what I wanted? Hold on. Okay, I really did have to crawl underneath the table to get it, and that is just not the easiest thing to do at my age. Holy smokes, I dropped that way underneath that table. And now I'm going to be kicking the cord around. And so chances are that means that this light is going to go off sometime during this broadcast. Luckily, it's not an emergency broadcast. Okay, so I lost my place of where Job is. I know Job is actually somewhere in the middle of the Bible, which is strange to me because since it is the oldest story in the Bible. So I turned to the middle of my Bible and there are Psalms, and it's right before Psalms. Psalms are poetry. Psalms are poetry. So if you like poetry, they're songs. Psalms means songs, and they literally are lyrics to songs that David used to sing. So they literally are songs. And if you go to church, especially Catholic church, you will sing the psalm response. The psalm response is sung, and they're sung from psalms. Why? Because psalms mean songs. So the psalm response is sung because psalms mean songs. All right, so we're in Job, and where we left off, I'm going to open this up so I could see it as well, all right, for a minute. So we listened to Job's response, and I read from chapter 28, and I read to about, what did I read to? About through 30 is what I did. So he's explaining about how people are mocking him. And then we're going to go, I'm going to stay right on this page for a second. And then we're going to go to God's response, which is 37 to 41, and then Job's repentance. And that's where the Job ends, right? So I'm going to be reading this and giving you commentary, at least a little bit of commentary, as I always do. But remember what this is about. So Job is like, first of all, Satan attacks his possessions, including his family, right? And then that's not enough because Satan keeps saying, listen, he's only following you. And I don't think I said this. I know I didn't say this. Satan said he's only following you because you give him so many things. He's got all these blessings, right? And I did say this. I did say this in a different way. This is much more direct. So that was what Satan was saying. And then even after he took away all his family and Job did not curse God, he said, yeah, but he still has his health and, so he could go get those things or build on his relation, whatever. And then he took away his health. Satan did, not God. Remember, God allowed it to happen for his purpose. And really, honestly, it doesn't sound great when you first hear it, but when you get used to the idea, it's perfectly fine with me. Is that what's it for? To glorify God, to show God's glory. Why? Why do we care about showing God's glory? Because that's where we return. We return back to him after all of this. Well, if we were to do that after all of this experience that we've had, we decide to turn back to him, wouldn't that be in glory? Like, dear Lord, you offered me this planet and you offered me all the treasures of this planet. And what did I do with it? I just, what's the word I'm looking for? Wasted, but that's not the word. I plundered them, right? And now I want to return home. So story of the prodigal son, right? And now I want to return home. It would be to glorify him. Why wouldn't it be? Because all of these things that you gave me don't match to what I have with you. I tried them all out. I tried every one of them out. Some of us have tried every one of those things out that we could get our hands on. And it doesn't compare to the love that I have with you, because I know how much you still love me after I plundered and everything, all of this earth, everything on this earth we did, right? And still nothing satisfied me. Nothing got me to sort of this transcendent level. Nothing got me to evolve like we said we could. Nothing got me to transform. Right? So we return home is what we do, right? We return home. So why glorify God? because all of these other things that I thought would be to my benefit and to my glory were not. So I return home to you. Why wouldn't I glorify him? Right? That's the way we have to look at it. Not like you're taking something, the skin off my back. All right, dear Lord, I'll glorify you if it means that I'm going to get rid of these welts I have on my body so I don't have to scrape off my sores with pottery, right? Sure, God, sure, I will. I'll come back to you, right? No. We know, as Job did, we learn that no matter what, this is for his purpose. So we come back home to a glorified God. So we come back home to a glorified Lord. That's what he's looking for. Okay, all right. So remember, he has 3 friends, and then he has the 4th friend, right? And so that's where we are right now. I didn't say that. So this is chapter 32, which is Elihu's contradicts Job's friends. So he's speaking now with a rational idea, right? Job is like, I don't know what's going on. You guys keep telling me it's me, and I keep telling you it's not me, and I don't know what's going on, but I know it's not me. So Elihu, who is a youngster and who has kept his mouth shut, and they make that clear right at the very beginning here, now decides to speak out. So this is chapter 32. So Job chapter 32. So these 3 men ceased answering Job because he was righteous in his own eyes. Then the wrath of Elihu, the son of Barachel and Bootsite, of the family of Ram, was aroused against Job. His wrath was aroused because he justified himself rather than God. Job justified himself rather than God. Elihu's, what do they call it? Wrath was aroused because Job justified himself rather than justifying God. Also, against his 3 friends, his wrath was aroused because they had found no answer and yet had condemned Job. So they didn't have an answer. They didn't say, where was he not righteous? But they condemned him anyway. Now, because they were years older than he, Elihu had waited to speak to Job. When Elihu saw that there was no answer in the mouth of these 3 men, his wrath was aroused. So Elihu, the son of Barachel and Bootsite, answered and said. Now, remember what I said yesterday is that this is really poetic. It's written as poetry, but it's very easy to understand. That was very easy to understand. Elihu, who you didn't even know existed until just, a minute and a half ago, is getting angry because nobody has an answer for Job. Nobody's really giving him an answer, but they have all kinds of things to say. And that was part of why. Why do they have 30 chapters of what these people are saying when it's nonsense? A 42 chapter book where most of the chapter is an argument telling us what Job really didn't do. Why? Wow. Isn't that why? Why? So you get the idea that they are searching. They are really searching. 30 chapters, 32 chapters of searching why God did this and coming up with no answers for Job, right? So now we're getting to the poetry a little bit. I am young in years and you are very old. Therefore I was afraid and dared not declare my opinion to you. I said age should speak and multitude of years should teach wisdom. But there is a spirit in man and the breath of the Almighty gives him understanding. And the breath of the Almighty gives him understanding, not from my own will, not from my own knowledge. And the breath of the Almighty gives him understanding. Great men are not always wise, nor do the aged always understand justice. Therefore I say, listen to me. I also will declare my opinion. Indeed, I waited for your words. I listened to your reasonings while you searched out what to say. I paid close attention to you, and surely not one of you convinced Job or answered his words, lest you say, we have found wisdom. God will vanquish him, not man. Now he has directed his words against me, so I will not answer him with your words. So I will not answer him with your words. And as I said, the light went off, and let me get that light. I told you it was going to go off sometime because I was going to kick that cord. And I really want that light on because I can see better with that light on. Clearly, that's what lights are for. I'm back underneath the table, darn it. As you can see. Okay, let me get my bottom adjusted so I'm not slipping and sliding all over this seat cushion. All right, there we go. Okay. So I will not answer him with your words. So what he's saying is he's not going to repeat what Job just said, or what Job's friends just said. He's not going to repeat and answer Job with the same words. They are dismayed and answer no more. Words escape them. And I have waited because they did not speak, because they stood still and answered no more. I also will answer my part. I too will declare my opinion, for I am full of words. The spirit within me compels me. Indeed, my belly is like wine that has no vent. It is ready to burst like new wineskins. I will speak that I may find relief. I must open my lips and answer. Let me not, I pray, show partiality to anyone, nor let me flatter any man, for I do not know how to flatter, else my Maker would soon take me away. All right, so I'm ready to burst with something to say. Chapter 33, Elihu contradicts Job. But please, Job, hear my speech and listen to all my words. Now I open my mouth. My tongue speaks in my mouth. My words come from my upright heart. My lips utter pure knowledge. The Spirit of God has made me, and the breath of the Almighty gives me life. If you can answer me, set your words in order before me. Take your stand. Truly, I am as your spokesman before God. I also have been formed out of clay. Surely no fear of me will terrify you, nor will my hand be heavy on you. I'm not going to yell at you, Job. But I am talking from God. I'm talking from the Spirit of God, is what he's saying. Surely you have spoken in my hearing, and I have heard the sound of your words, saying, I am pure, without transgression. I am innocent, and there is no inequity in me. Inequity means unfairness in me, injustices in me. So Elihu is saying, I've heard you say these things, Job. Yet he finds occasions against me. He counts me as his enemy. He puts my feet in the socks. He puts my feet in the stocks. He watches all my paths. Look, in this you are not righteous. I will answer you. So that's what he was saying, what Job was saying. Now Elihu is saying, look, in this you are not righteous. I will answer you, for God is greater than man. Why do you contend with him? For he does not give an accounting of any of his words. For God may speak in one way or in another, yet man does not perceive it. In a dream, in a vision of the night, when deep sleep falls upon men while slumbering on their beds, then he opens the ears of men and seals their instruction, in order to turn man from his deed and conceal pride from man. He keeps back his soul from the pit and his life from perishing by the sword. Man is also chastened with pain on his bed, and with strong pain in many of his bones, so that his life abhors bread, and his soul succulent food. His flesh wastes away from sight, and his bones stick out, which once were not seen. Yes, his soul draws near the pit, and his life to the executioners. So what he's saying is that we see in man's soul the same thing that is happening to your body, Job. We see the same things happening. So they may not look like you, but they can't sleep, just like you can't sleep, Job, whether or not they can see it. So in Job, and this is new to me, in Job, we are seeing physically all the ailments that man has had across time. Man has also chastened with his pain on his bed and with strong pain in many of his bones, so that his life abhors bread. And I don't even want to eat. I don't even want to eat. Don't we have many people like that, right? I can't even eat, right? So he abhors bread and his soul succulent food. His soul abhors. You can't even make me feel better with delicious food or with bread, even bread that can help my hunger. You can't even make me feel better. So Job, we see this on the outside, but people are suffering the same way on the inside. That's what Elihu is saying here. It's so beautifully put. If there is a messenger for him, a mediator once among 1,000, to show man his uprightness, then he is gracious to him and says, deliver him from going down to the pit. I have found a ransom. His flesh shall be young like a child's. He shall return to the days of his youth. He shall pray to God, and he will delight in him. He shall see his face with joy, for he restores to man his righteousness. So if I feel good in God's eyes, that's good for me. Then he looks at men and says, I have sinned and perverted what was right, and it did not profit me. And he will redeem his soul from going down to the pit, and his life shall see the light. When what happens? When we repent, when we see the pride or the selfishness in ourselves, and then we repent, we will see the light. That's what he is saying. Don't we all feel that? We can't even sleep sometimes at nighttime. Don't we all feel that way? And he shall return to the days of his youth. He shall pray to God, and he will delight in him. We have to have faith like a child again, right? In him. Turn back, go home to glorify him. Faith like a child. Behold, God works all things, twice in fact, 3 times with the man, to bring back his soul from the pit, that he may be enlightened with the light of life. God works for us over and over again, 2, 3 times. Give ear, Job, listen to me. Hold your peace, and I will speak. If you have anything to say, answer me. Speak, for I desire to justify you. If not, listen to me. If you have anything else to say, Job, say it. But if not, I've got something to say. Hold your peace, and I will teach you wisdom. Isn't that what Job was asking for earlier? Wisdom, that I can have all these things and I can do things what the birds or the beasts cannot do, even by mining minerals or getting furs or building homes, those kinds of things. And yet I don't. Where is the wisdom? Remember he was saying that? We were reading that on yesterday, on Tuesday. Chapter 34, Elihu proclaims God's justice. Elihu further answered and said, hear my words, you wise men. Give ear to me, you who have knowledge. For the ear tests words as the palate tastes food. For the ear tests words as the palate tastes food. When you hear, just as we were saying, this is about discernment. Where is the truth? We were talking Ali Brosh and her hyperbole and a half, seeking the truth. Where is your truth? The ear tests words. Are you no longer listening for the false truths in what you believe? Are you no longer listening? Because your ear will test it, but not if you're not listening. That's why he said to Job right at the beginning of this, right before this, Job, listen to me, because for your ear test, if you got anything else to say, say it. But let me speak wisdom, and let your ear test to see if it sounds like wisdom. Let us choose justice for ourselves. Let us know among ourselves what is good. For Job has said, I am righteous, but God has taken away my justice. Should I lie concerning my right? I have a right to justice. Should I lie concerning what is rightfully mine? Should I say, oh no, I did sin? That's what Job is saying. Elihu is repeating it, right? Should I lie concerning my right? My wound is incurable, though I am without transgression. This is what Job is saying. What man is like Job, who drinks scorn like water? Who drinks scorn like what? See the poetry here? Who goes in company with the workers of iniquity? Who stands with people and hangs with people who are unjust, and walks with wicked men? For he has said, it profits a man nothing that he should delight in God. That's what Job was saying. Look at where I am. I delighted in God, and look at where I am. So Job was saying, it profits a man nothing that he should delight in God. Therefore, listen to me, you men of understanding. Far be it from God to do wickedness, and from the Almighty to commit iniquity. So he's standing up for Elihu. He says, no, God would not commit wickedness or do wickedness. He would not be unjust. So this is from some other source. It's not from God. Now you say, well, he let it happen. He let it happen for his purpose. He let it happen for his purpose, but it did not come from him. We know God's character. If we know God's character, we seek for the truth. And the truth of the matter is, it couldn't have come from God, because that is wickedness, right? That is unjust. And that is the lesson of Job. That's the lesson of Job. Hear the lesson of Job. Okay. For he repays man according to his work, and makes man to find a reward according to his way. His way. You get rewarded according to his way. Surely God will never do wickedly, nor will Almighty pervert justice. Who gave him charge over the earth? Or who appointed him over the whole world? Who appointed God over the whole world? Who is that? Who appointed God? Who gave God charge over the whole earth? Nobody. Nobody gave him. That would be God, if somebody gave God. If he should set his heart on it, if he should gather to himself his spirit and his breath, all flesh would perish together, and man would return to dust. If he wanted. If you have understanding, hear this. Listen to the sound of my words. Should one who hates justice govern? Will you condemn him who is most just? Is it fitting to say to a king, you are worthless? Is it fitting to say to a king, you are worthless? Isn't that what Job was doing? He said, it profits a man nothing that he should delight in God. Is it fitting to say to a king, you are worthless? And to nobles, you are wicked. Is it fitting for you to say to nobles, you are wicked? Yet he is not partial to princes, nor does he regard the rich more than the poor. So you wouldn't even say that to kings or nobles. And yet they play favorites. They are unjust because they do play favorites. God is not partial to princes, nor does he regard the rich more than the poor, for they are all the work of his hands, all of them. In a moment they die, in the middle of the night the people are shaken and pass away. The mighty are taken away without a hand. For his eyes are on the ways of man, and he sees all his steps. There is no darkness nor shadow of death where the workers of iniquity may hide themselves. God knows everything. He knows your sins. You cannot hide even the sins of your heart or the treasures of your heart from him, right? Let's see here. For he needs not further consider a man that he should go before God in judgment. He breaks in pieces mighty men without inquiry. He sets others in their place. Therefore, he knows their works. He overthrows them in the night, and they are crushed. He strikes them as wicked men in the open sight of others, because they turned back from him and would not consider any of his ways, so that they caused the cry of the poor to come to him. These people of injustice, inequity, they caused the cry of the poor to reach God's ears, to come to him. For he hears the cry of the afflicted when he gives quietness. Who then can make trouble? And when he hides his face, who then can see him? Could Job see God's face? He said, he complained, I can't even see him. I look for him and I can't even see him. Who can see God when he hides his face? There's nothing you can do if God hides his face from you. Nothing. Whether it is against a nation or a man alone, whether God hides his face from a man alone or from an entire nation, there's nothing that you can do when he does that. And let's think about that for a moment, right? That we really have been a country that has been built on faith, and that it really has been in the last, so many decades that we have really turned our back on faith and what faith does for us. And when he hides his face, who can see him, whether it is against a nation or a man alone? We cannot be a nation where God turns his back on us. Why? Because we chose for the short term, right? Or we chose in the short term wrong choices. Why? For some long-term goal, and you don't know if that's God's purpose. God's purpose says every short-term decision you make and you choose for justice, right? You choose that for justice. Because when God hides his face from a man or a nation, who can turn that face around? We cannot be a nation that refuses to see God. Because if we are, we will be a nation that cannot turn that around. That the hypocrite should not reign, lest the people be ensnared. The hypocrite will not reign, right? Maybe reign for a while, but the hypocrite will not reign, right? They will not be the person who reigns. The hypocrite will not, lest all of us will be ensnared. All of us would be like, well, what the heck? We would all be like Job, which was, it profits a man nothing that he should delight in God, right? We would all be like Job was. For has anyone said to God, I have borne chastising, I will offend no more. Teach me what I do not see. If I have done iniquity, I will do no more. Should he repay it according to your terms? Just because you disavow it, saying, I won't do it anymore, you disavowed it. Should God then repay you for that because you said I won't do it anymore? You must choose and not I. Therefore speak what you know. Men of understanding say to me, wise men who listen to me. Job speaks without knowledge. His words are without wisdom. Oh, that Job were tried to the utmost, because his answers are like those of wicked men. For he adds rebellion to his sin. He claps his hands among us and multiplies his words against God. And so he's like, what are you doing? You're clapping your hands amongst people, right? That means, hey, pay attention to me. Hey, listen to what I'm saying, right? That's Job. Okay? Elihu condemns self-righteousness. Moreover, Elihu answered and said, do you think this is right? Do you say, my righteousness is more than God's? For you say, what advantage will it be to you? What profit shall I have more than if I had sinned? Right? I have no profit glorifying God more than if I had sinned. I might as well have led a sinful life. How many of us think that? I might as well have led a sinful life because leading this life has not benefited me one bit. How many of us have said that? I know many people I could name who have done that, led a life that is really just a life of righteousness, and then said, what good has it done me? Look at what I have. I've lost my family. I've lost my spouse. I've lost my job, or I've lost my integrity, or I've lost my, love for myself, my feelings of self-worth, right? What good did it do me if I have obeyed God all these years and have lost all of those things? Remember, we really have to give up the love of ourselves, right? We have to die to the self, and which is all those things, right? In order to really be able to say, oh, that's your plan. and see it and be like, woo, thank God you're on the throne. Thank God you've got the blueprints for what's going on. Because if I had the blueprints, I would be selfish and everybody else would suffer and I would be queen of the throne of everywhere. Right? Do you think this is right? Do you say, my righteousness is more than God's? For you say, what advantage will it be to you? What profit shall I have more than if I had sinned? I will answer you and your companions with you. Look to the heavens and see, and behold the clouds. They are higher than you. If you sin, what do you accomplish against him? Or if your transgressions are multiplied, what do you do to him? If you are righteous, what do you give him? Or what does he receive from your hand? Your wickedness affects a man such as you, and your righteousness a son of man. Because of the multitude of oppressions, they cry out. They cry out for help because of the arm of the mighty. But no one says, where is God, my maker, who gives songs in the night? Where is God, my maker, who will sing to me? Who says that? Who teaches us more than the beasts of the earth and makes us wiser than the birds of heaven? There they cry out, but he does not answer. Because of the pride of evil men, surely God will not listen to empty talk, nor will the Almighty regard it. Although you say you do not see him, yet justice is before him, and you must wait for him. And now because he has not punished in his anger, nor taken much notice of folly, therefore Job opens his mouth in vain. He multiplies words without knowledge. Now I'm going to go ahead and, where are we? And jump ahead. So you get the idea of what Elihu is saying. And he's saying it in a very poetic way, and he's saying it across quite a few chapters here, right? Let's go to God's response, which is the next chapter over. So I'm gonna skip one chapter. Chapter 36 is what I'm skipping, okay? And I'm going to God's response. Chapter 37. At this also my heart trembles and leaps from its place. No, that's not it. That's not it. Let me get to God's response. Here it is. Chapter 38. The Lord reveals his omnipotence, his all-encompassing power. His great power, his all-encompassing power to Job. Then the Lord answered Job out of the whirlwind and said, I want to see, because right before that, I want to see if if they explain the whirlwind, because so his voice is coming like a whirlwind. Could you imagine that? I mean, seriously, if you especially are a literal Bible, right? Literalist about the Bible. So we're human beings, right? Because you have to realize these are human beings and experiencing, and Job has experienced God in ways we don't know, but that doesn't mean that hearing God's voice in a whirlwind isn't going to be startling, right? Now, it seems that Job has heard God's voice in a relationship, and maybe it's not as startling as it would be to us, right? But imagine that. Imagine, and this has happened in other areas of the Bible. So out of a whirlwind, right, surrounding what you are hearing, this thunderous voice that is reprimanding you, how fearful would you be? Who is this who darkens counsel by words without knowledge? Now prepare yourself like a man. I will question you, and you shall answer me. Can you imagine God saying that? Can you imagine? And I will question you, and you will answer me. Where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? He's saying this to Job. Where were you? You who's complaining right now, right? Elihu tried to take up the slack over here, but he needed 4 chapters, and he's not going to say it nearly as clearly as God's going to say it right now. Where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? Tell me if you have understanding. Who determined its measurements? Who determined the measurements of the earth? I mean, even when you think about this, here we had was this in critical thinking? No, no, no. Our boat, right? Our boat, our ark. Ugh, that's not it. Yes, it is. There, our ark. Right? Who gave the measurements for the ark? Where do we get those measurements for the ark? How about the earth? Who had the measurements for the earth? That's what he's saying. Who determined its measurements? Surely you know. Or who stretched the line upon it? How about the equator or the latitude and longitude, right? To what were its foundations fastened? How is the earth floating there in gravity? What's it fastened to, by the way, Job? Do you know? Who's sitting over there complaining about what I'm doing? Right? And it's the example for us. Yeah, it sucked, Job. You were right. But let's listen to when God speaks in a whirlwind, right? When the morning stars sang together and all the sons of God shouted for joy. Oh no. Or here. To what were the foundations fastened? Or who laid the cornerstone? When the morning stars sang together and all the sons of God shouted for joy. Who did that is what they're saying after it was fastened, right? The foundations are fastened. Or who shut the sea with doors? When it burst forth and issued from the womb, when I made the clouds its garment and thick darkness its swaddling band. When he made the earth and he separated day from night and put the sun in the sky and the stars there and the moon for night. When I fixed my limit for it, the limit, right? The limit of gravity. And set bars and doors for the sea. And when I said, this far you may come, but no farther, and here your proud waves must stop. Who said that? Who said it? Have you commanded the morning since your days began? Did you say it's morning now? Did you command that? And cause the dawn to know its place, that it might take hold of the ends of the earth, and the wicked be shaken out of it? It takes on form like clay under a seal, and stands out like a garment. And what's he talking about? He's talking about the morning. The morning is what he's talking about. Or dawn, right? Dawn sticks out like a garment. Like a seal in the clay. We know it's dawn. We know what the dawn is, right? From the wicked, their light is withheld, and the upraised arm is broken. So I don't see that as being spectacular if I'm wicked. Have you ever entered the springs? And I don't raise my arms to the glory of this if I'm wicked, right? They're broken. My arm is broken. I don't go, glory to God. The wicked does it. They don't. Their arms are broken. Have you entered the springs of the sea, or have you walked in search of the depths? Have the gates of death been revealed to you? Have the gates of death been revealed to you? Do you know anything about death at all? Have you seen it and then come back? Have the gates of death been revealed to you? Or have you seen the doors of the shadow of death? Have you comprehended the breadth of the earth? How big the earth is. Have you comprehended that? Tell me if you know all this. Where is the way to the dwelling of light? And darkness, where is its place? That you may take it to its territory. That you can take light, go to the daytime, and night, go to, or darkness, go to the night. That you can tell it its place. Tell me how you can do that. That you may know the path to its home. Do you know it because you were born then, or because the number of your days is great that you would know this? Have you entered the treasury of snow, or have you seen the treasury of hail, which I have reserved for the time of trouble? That's interesting, isn't it? I've reserved hail and snow. for the times of trouble. So that's interesting to me. For the day of battle and war, by what way is light diffused? How does light diffuse? How does that happen? How does light give us light? Do you know, Job? Do you know? Or the east wind scattered over the earth. How does that happen? That the east winds come, and I don't even know about wind, but somebody else does, right? Because it has a pattern. Because wind has a pattern. Do you know how that pattern developed, Job? The pattern of wind? Who has divided a channel for the overflowing water, or a path for the thunderbolt? So even the channels he made for overflowing water, so that we don't have floods. Or a path for the thunderbolt, right? So that it goes to a lightning rod, for example. Who did that? Who did that? Did you, Job? To cause it to rain on a land where there is no one, a wilderness in which there is no man. Did you do that, Job? To satisfy the desolate waste and cause to spring forth the growth of tender grass. Has the rain a father? Or who has begotten the drops of dew? From begotten, so gave the drops of dew. From whose womb comes the ice and the frost of heaven, who gives it birth? The waters harden like stone, and the surface of the deep is frozen. Can you bind the cluster of the Pleiades? And there is no, I'm surprised there's no whatever. Or loose the belt of Orion. Can you bring Mazzaroth in its season? These are these are constellations, it sounds like. These are constellations. Did you make those constellations? Or can you guide the great bear with its cubs? Do you know the ordinances of the heavens? Can you set their dominion over the earth? Can you set dominion of the heavens over the earth? Can you lift up your voice to the clouds, that an abundance of water may cover you? What did he say, right? With his voice, let there be light. He divided the land from the sea, right? With his voice is what he did. Can you lift up your voice to the clouds, that an abundance of water may cover you? Can you send out lightnings, that they may go, and say to you, here we are, lightning? Who has put wisdom in the mind, or who has given understanding to the heart? Who can number the clouds by wisdom, or who can pour on the bottles of heaven when the dust hardens in clumps and the clods cling together? Can you hunt the prey for the lion, or satisfy the appetite of the young lion? When they crouch in their dens or lurk in their lairs to lie in wait? When its young ones cry to God and wander about for lack of food? Do you know the time when the wild mountain goats bear young? Or can you mark when the deer gives birth? Can you number the months that they fulfill? Do you know when they are going to give birth? Right? Oh, about 9 months. Do you know when they're going to give birth? About 3 months. Do you know when they're going to give birth? They bow down. They bring forth their young. They deliver their offspring. Their young ones are healthy. They grow strong with grain. They depart and do not return to them. Who set the wild donkey free? Who loosened the bonds of the onager? Whose home I have made the wilderness, and the barren land his dwelling. He scorns the tumult of the city. He does not heed the shouts of the driver. The range of the mountains is his pasture, and he searches after every green thing. Will the wild ox be willing to serve you? Will he bed by your manger? Can you bind the wild ox in the furrow with ropes? Or will he plow the valleys behind you? Will you trust him because his strength is great? Or will you leave your labor to him? Will you trust him to bring home your grain and gather it to your threshing floor? Do you have to tame the wild animals and put yokes on their neck to get them to do what God can do if he wants them to do that? The wings of the ostrich wave proudly, but are her wings and pinions like the kinds of storks. Somebody has done a sort of a, I don't know, a whole research thing on feathers and wings and how they get to fly, and are they the same? So he's saying it's the ostrich wing that is so special. Is that the same as the stork's wing, or is it different? Do you even know? For she leaves her eggs on the ground and warms them in the dust. She forgets that a foot may crush them or that a wild beast may break them. She treats her young harshly as though they were not hers. Her labor is in vain without concern, because God deprived her of wisdom and did not endow her with understanding. When she lifts herself on high, she scorns the horse and its rider. Right? Because they crushed her eggs. But she didn't know enough. She didn't have wisdom to plant them deeper. Have you given the horse strength? Have you clothed his neck with thunder? Can you frighten him like a locust? His majestic snorting strikes terror. He paws at the valley and rejoices in his strength. He gallops into the clash of arms. He mocks at fear and is not frightened, nor does he turn back the sword. The quiver rattles against him, the glintering spear and javelin. He devours the distance with fierceness and rage, nor does he come to a halt because the trumpet has sounded. At the blast of the trumpet, he says, "Aha!" He smells the battle from afar, the thunder of captains and shouting. Does the hawk fly by your wisdom and spread its wings towards the south? Does the eagle mount up at your command and make its nest on high? On the rock it dwells and resides, on the crag of the rock and the stronghold. From there it spies out the prey. Its eyes observe from afar. Its young ones suck up blood, and there the slain are. There it is. Moreover, the Lord answered Job and said, shall the one who contends with the Almighty correct him? He who rebukes God, let him answer it. And then there's Job's response. Then Job answered the Lord, behold, I am vile. What shall I answer you? I lay my hand over my mouth. Once I have spoken, but I will not answer. Yet twice, but I will proceed no further. God's challenge. Then the Lord answered Job out of the whirlwind and said, now prepare yourself like a man. I will question you, and you shall answer me. Would you indeed annul my judgment? Would you condemn me that you may be justified? Have you an arm like God, or can you thunder with a voice like his? Then adorn yourself with majesty and splendor, and array yourself with glory and beauty. Disperse the rage of your wrath. Look on everyone who is proud and humble him. Look on everyone who is proud and bring him low. Tread down the wicked in their place. Hide them in the dust together. Bind their faces in hidden darkness. Then I will also confess to you that your own right hand can save you. Do all those things, Job. Let's see, right? Let's see you do all those things. Look now at the behemoth, which I made along with you. He eats grass like an ox. What's a behemoth? We're not quite sure. He's going to mention something else. See how his strength is in his hips, and his power is in his stomach muscles. He moves his tail like a cedar. The sinews of his thighs are tightly knit. His bones are like beams of bronze. His ribs like bars of iron. He is the first of the ways of God. Only he who made him can bring him near his sword. Surely the mountains yield food for him, and all the beasts of the field play there. He lies under the lotus tree in a covert of reeds and marsh. The lotus trees cover him with their shade. The willows by the brook surround him. Indeed, the river may rage, yet he is not disturbed. He is confident, though the Jordan gushes into his mouth. Though he takes it in his eyes, or one pierces his nose with a snare. Can you draw out Leviathan with a hook? And that's the other one. So the behemoth and the Leviathan. They're like dragons is what they are. Behemoth like a big buffalo, giant mammoth. And then the Leviathan like a dragon. or snare his tongue with a line which you lower. So capturing the Leviathan. Can you put a reed through his nose or pierce his jaw with a hook? A dragon is what he's talking about. Will he make any supplications to you? Will he speak softly to you? Will he make a covenant with you? Will he take him as a servant forever? Will you play with him as with a bird? So he's talking about something that's like more like a dinosaur, right? It's like that. It's like a big beast like a dinosaur. Can you do that to a dinosaur? Or will you leash him for your maidens? So, hey, ladies, check out what I have, a Leviathan on my leash. Will your companions make a banquet of him? Will they apportion him among the merchants? Can you fill his skin with harpoons, or his head with fishing spears? Lay your hand on him. Remember the battle. Never do it again. Indeed, any hope of overcoming him is false. Shall one not be overwhelmed at the sight of him? If you saw it, wouldn't you be overwhelmed, right? No one is so fierce that he would dare stir him up. Who then is able to stand against me? Who has preceded me that I should pay him? Everything under heaven is mine. I will not conceal his limbs. His mighty power or his grateful proportion, who can remove his outer coat? That's it. No, that's it. No, it's not. And so God goes on, and you can read that. And then Job repents, and we're going to get to the repentance tomorrow is what we'll talk about. If I'm here tomorrow, I've got a problem with my mysteries in my Oakland University job there, and a real problem with that. So I have to go see Equal Opportunity because I basically am not teaching there, and I don't even know why I'm not teaching there. All I know is I was locked out. So I'm teaching here, which I really enjoy because I'm still getting paid, and I really feel like I need to be producing something, even if the whole job thing is a big mystery. I still feel like I need to be producing. So thanks for being here. I appreciate it. This is a spiritual classroom. I'm sorry if you were a little bit bored and you know that you could have read Job. It was so important to hear that. That is a 42 chapter book, the story of Job. And it's important to realize the importance in going over those points again and again, because Job is the hardest book in the Bible almost for everybody to understand. So this is Dr. Annette Feravich, hoping I made it a little bit more clear. We'll finish it up when I see you, probably tomorrow. We'll see. I don't know. I have to prepare, but I will let you know. And I'll come to class on Friday instead of tomorrow. We'll see. Okay. All right. That's all I have for you. I'm back in 15 minutes to read the next 2 chapters in our Goosebump book. Be careful what you wish for. Thanks for joining me. This is the teacher. I am the teacher. This is the classroom, the spiritual classroom.